Welcome to Crowning Around, where every woman wears a crown, whether she's 17 or 70. I'm Joan Caliendo, and this is the space where magic happens when women empower women. Each week, we'll dig into topics like ageism, stepping into your power, and everything in between. And today, we're kicking it all off with a queen in her own right. Me, Ms. New York Senior America. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 21. And we're happy to have you here on this lovely May evening, which happens to be the closeout of Teacher Appreciation Week. And I would like to publicly thank all of the educators in my life and in the lives of my children, and of course to my students whom loved all of the educators they had, and say thank you to all of the people that helped to shape us and give us the careers that we love and enjoy. We can never forget that somebody believed in us a long time ago, and it was usually a teacher, and I'm sure every single person viewing tonight or listening can right now remember who that person was, who changed us or maybe charted our course to get to where we needed to get to. So I thank all of the educators out there as we close out Teacher Appreciation Week. And that's why it's just such a special evening for me, because this is a dear friend of mine whom was an educator. It seemed to me for years and years and years, turns out it was only 6 years of education in the classroom, but we started together at a lovely place known as Holy Trinity High School in Hicksville, New York. And this is a friendship that has lasted over 40 years. And I thought it was very fitting that I asked him to be on the show this evening, because together we learned, together we grew. And of course, his career spanned many other ways, and we'll get through that. But I'm going to welcome someone that I'm calling a Royal Titan, because at Holy Trinity, the home of the Titans in Hicksville, New York, we are welcoming the infamous Mr. Vin Torti. That's just the beginning.
This is very bad.
This is just the beginning,
Very
but
bad.
we do love the fact that the crown is appropriately on top of his head. If you're looking at the graphic that we're looking at right now, it's perfect.
Biggie Vin. No?
It's Biggie Vin. It's
Yeah.
Biggie Smalls in the flesh. And we love it because he's nice and tall. It fits perfectly there. So let me start by introducing Vin and some of the iterations that he's gone through in his career. So although 6 years in the classroom is all that he had, he was a renowned track coach, which I think grew from his own experiences in Belmore, right? At the famous
Mepham High School,
Mepham High School.
1978, best high school, best class in the history of classes.
I've heard this numerous times, and
You'll hear it
your
again
coach
tonight.
and your coach was the famous.
Paul Limmer.
Okay, which we've been to dinners, and that's been
Yep,
like,
for sure.
you know, someone who has
Section 8.
been correctly recognized by Section 8 athletics in Nassau County. So Vin began in the classroom with me. I showed up at Holy Trinity in 1985. What time did you begin there?
1984.
Wowza. Vin taught religion, and I, of course, taught history. And as the young folk in this very established Catholic school in Hicksville, New York, we, had to weave our way through some of the veterans and the ways of which we will get to, of learning how to teach, right, on the high school level and secondary level. And very big school and a lot of kids and tremendous diversity. And we had to learn how to really work the ropes. And I would also like to give a shout out to my former high school cheerleading coach and math teacher, Miss Mary Rose O'Hara, that we both love and adore.
Hello, Mary Rose, if you're out there.
We love Mary Rose, and she's the woman who encouraged me to come out to Long Island to begin my teaching career and helped me to get the job at Holy Trinity, of course, promising that I would be a cheerleading coach, which kind of stuck, right, for 3
Forever.
years that I was there, and then forever. So we start with the fact that Vin began his professional career in fundraising, primarily focusing on hospices and hospitals in the metro area, right? And then eventually segued to, within the last 7 years, what?
Spent a lot of time over the last 7 years raising money through Human Services for Holocaust survivors and
Unbelievable.
orphans. Spent a lot of time in Israel, and maybe even experiencing and seeing things that nobody should see.
Right. We've had these conversations at dinner, and they get very deep, but I will share this with you as we go along in his bio. Every time Vin has traveled to Israel, he has sent me a text and said, what are some of the prayers that you have for your own family? Because I will be traveling to the Western Wall, and I would love to, welcome those prayers at the wall and bring them up for your family. That's a true friend, and that's a true humanitarian. So I had to mention that. So let's talk about your training. Where did you begin with this kind of religious mission?
Well, we talked about being rookie teachers, and I was a year in front of you.
Right.
I still have zero, for those of you educators out there, zero education classes background in terms of pedagogy or methodology. I studied to be a Catholic priest.
Tell them your degrees and where you received them from.
Right, so I have a bachelor's degree from what was formerly known as Cathedral College in Douglaston, and my master's in theology from the Seminary of the Immaculate Conception in Huntington, beautiful Lloyd Harbor up West Neck Road.
Yeah.
If you don't know where that is, just go up West Neck Road in Comset Park, and you'll be right in the area. So from 82 to 84, which seems a gazillion years ago, because it was.
It was.
Right. It was 22, and now I'll be 66, double sixes. That's crazy. I left. I was assigned to a great parish, St. Raphael's in East Meadow.
Yes.
They wanted me to succeed. They wanted me to do well, but I wasn't sure the priesthood was what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I was selling Electrolux
Stop it.
vacuum cleaners.
Door to door?
I swear.
Door to door?
I swear. I think this was a thing that I did.
Did you throw the dirt on the floor and come in?
I was so embarrassed, but that's what I was doing. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do. And I was reading Newsday when you can read it, didn't have to pay to read it, but you're able to read those things.
Yes.
And I think there was an advertisement in there for a religion teacher and a track coach at Holy Trinity High School.
Which is a natural combo.
Right. And what I knew about Holy Trinity was when I ran at MEPM, there were some really great runners at Holy Trinity.
Okay.
The CHSAA, the Catholic High School Athletic Association, Trinity and Chaminade. I think it was Maria Regina
at the time.
Back then.
Yeah.
Had some spectacular runners, and I knew them. And I said, I think maybe I can do this. I've never taught before, but I know how to coach.
Right.
And I pretty much knew that I knew what I was talking about when it came to theology.
Yes.
And they said, okay, come in for an interview, and we need you to prepare a lesson. I had zero, I don't even know.
Lesson plans, didn't know how to do that.
Don't even know. Fortunately, I was taught by some brilliant men and women, both at the college level and the graduate level in the seminary. So I knew how to put things together. And that just worked out great. I think it worked out great because they hired me, unless they had no one else to hire, and they figured this guy would be okay.
Well, let's be honest here. Very personable, very wonderful with children, has a rapport, a sense of humor that is immeasurable, and also willing to do the work. So when you get hired as a first-year teacher, the first thing they'll ask you is, so what are you going to coach and what clubs are you going to take over, right? They don't want you just there to, do your 9 to 5, which is not 9 to 5, but just teaching the subjects, grading the papers, and going home. They want you to form those bonds and relationships with kids. And Vin was great at that. So they hired you.
They did.
And
they did.
And
they did.
Thankfully, many students, that have come and gone through Holy Trinity, of which we've gone to reunions, remember very much what went on in the classroom, but even more so what went on the track. Right?
Yeah. This whole experience at Holy Trinity, they've done psychological studies about men, and the period in which I was in would be referred to kind of like the novice stage. I think I was 23.
Right.
I don't think I had turned 24 yet. And my Holy Trinity experience ended before I was 28.
Wow.
So it's a real short period of time. You're in the novice stage. You don't know what you want to do. You don't know this about anything. Is this going to be a career? Is it a job? How do you make these things work? And you may or may not remember, but my first year of teaching, I made $15,050, which I think today,
I remember that.
Today is the whopping sum of maybe $47,500.
Yeah. Catholic schools do not pay very
well.
well.
They do much better now, but back then. And to get there, I coached boys and girls cross country.
Yeah.
So in the fall, boys and girls indoor track. and boys and girls spring track. So from August and through the end of June,
You were there.
we were somewhere.
Yeah, we lived
We
at
were
the
somewhere.
school. Yeah.
You know, and I tell you what, it was certainly of all the things that I've done, I cherish and love those and kind of love those moments.
Yeah, we loved the staff,
yeah.
we loved the kids, we loved
Yeah.
the families, and we enjoyed each other because we were also so young in our 20s, and we were, navigating the courses that were set for us, which we will get to in the Queen's Court when I ask a very specific question. But as Vin's career went on, he married the fabulous Sandy Torti, as we refer to her, and had two wonderful children.
She's probably listening. I gave her the YouTube link. That doesn't mean that you know how to get there, but it's very.
We hope.
It's for the fact that I gave information on technology is shocking.
Dinosaurs, both of us.
In and of itself, the boys are laughing probably as we speak. Yes, just so you know, the nickname, the fabulous Sandy Torti, is not a third-person Vin Torti creation.
No.
I give credit to my dear cousin Denise Levine down in Boca, Del Rey, who said, "Sandy, she's fabulous."
She's
and
fabulous.
There we go.
And it's
so,
stuck.
And it's stuck.
That's
and it
how
goes.
we refer to her.
Everybody knows this. People will reach back to me on Facebook and say, or see me, and they'll say, "We just love how you refer to your wife. Why doesn't my husband do this?" I said, "Well, send your husband to me and we'll talk. We'll have a conversation.
We'll come up with something.
We'll work out a deal."
An adjective.
There's always something,
There's something.
that goes on. So we'll be married 30 years on May 25th. And I don't forget the day because on May 24th, the Islanders won their first Stanley Cup.
Amen. With the Islanders,
Talk about this.
yes.
Always about hockey.
It's always about hockey.
Sandy,
the
that is
80s
not-
were big
Sandy,
for hockey
that
here.
is not how I remember it, but I do that just
I
to
do
have a little bit
remember
of joke.
sitting in the church and someone was very, very late.
Well,
Sandy.
Well, she was late. She wasn't very, very late. It happens, we live in Point Lookout, which if you don't know where it is, it's, Long Beach and on the barrier island underneath the main island, underneath Freeport and Merrick. Sometimes the bridge goes up.
Yeah.
Sometimes it stays up.
I remember that nervousness waiting for her to show up.
And I knew she was coming.
Oh, okay.
But it gave me a chance to do a little shtick and sing some songs.
You did do a little shtick.
It worked out pretty well, I thought. It
was nice.
I think it was pretty good.
It was good. And of course,
I think there should be more weddings like that.
It was nervous for the people who didn't know if she was definitely showing up. He was very confident.
I think she's coming. Don't worry. She'll be here.
Oh, waiting for Godot. Remember you saying that?
Waiting for Godot.
Okay. And then two beautiful sons were born of this marriage, Daniel and Andrew, who are amazingly successful, brilliant young men. Tell us some of their accolades.
Two great guys. I think the thing that thrills Sandy and me, Sandy and I, the most is that they are just good guys.
They are.
They're good guys. They have great hearts. They'll do anything for anybody. We don't have to ask them to do anything for anybody. They just do that.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew is finishing his master's at Notre Dame, and part of that is through the Alliance for Catholic Education. So he's teaching down in New Orleans. Hasn't been an easy experience.
I'm sure.
They work on no money. They get a little stipend,
sure.
similar to my $15,050.
All right, so you know that road.
Yeah, but he's living on $15,000. It's not $47,000. It's 50. He's
Right.
living like that,
Right.
and he's got to travel and do that stuff. And like his father, he did not have an education background, but he wanted to be of service. And different for me is that I taught high school. Different for him is that he's teaching elementary school.
Oh.
And if you don't know, for those of you elementary school teachers out
God
there,
bless you.
we love you. We feel for you. We don't know how you do it.
Yeah,
we don't know why you do
patience.
it. But the fact that you do is great. And so that's what Andrew is doing. And he'll be finishing, and he'll be home in a couple of weeks. And Dan, Dan is the guy who travels all over the place.
Russia.
He's been to Russia. He's been to Beirut.
But he studied in Russia.
He studied in Russia as part of his experience at West Virginia University. He spent 6 or 7 months over at the higher school of education.
Wow.
Or math in Moscow. When you were able to go there, and study and do all those kinds of things. So he's got degrees in math and Russian. Now he's finishing a degree in physics, and he's going to be at Hofstra.
Wait, where does all that come from? The physics and the math and the...
Well, it doesn't come from me.
And Sandy, but she was a language educator.
Yeah, but Sandy knows everything about everything.
Okay.
And her mom, her dad had passed away when Sandy was 11 or 12. But her mom, who just passed away shy of 100,
Wow.
Was chief of anesthesiology at Coney Island Hospital. Those of you from the hood, like we're from
Coney
the hood,
Island.
how you doing out there, right?
How you doing?
Right. And the thing, she was one of the first, if not the first, female chiefs in the Health and Hospital Corporation. So, part of your show is to talk about women leaders, and
absolutely.
So here's to Grandma.
Yeah.
And teaching Dan. So Dan had this feel for medicine.
That's wonderful.
Sandy's mom is Polish Ukrainian, so Dan, by nature, went to Poland, learned.
He's good with languages. I'm taking that.
When he was in Moscow, he knew enough Russian. He went to visit his roommate Doug from West Virginia, who has family in Lebanon.
Wow.
And so he learned Lebanese on the plane. They met in Turkey.
Wow.
He learned Turkish on the plane.
Wow.
So one day we're coming back from a hockey game or a concert in the city. He and I were on the railroad to Freeport before we get home. I'm looking at my phone. I'm looking at pictures, and I look at Dan like, bro, what are you doing? Dad, I'm learning Farsi.
Farsi.
Okay. All right. We'll just move along with that. So
as one does on the train home from an Islanders game.
Right. And, so the boys get their language skills certainly from.
Oh, Sandy was an educator of languages.
Yeah. So it's been Farsi? Oh, cool.
Oh, yeah.
Outstanding.
Okay. Wow.
Outstanding.
But if you're not picking up all of the symbolism that we're going through here, this is a family dedicated to giving back, service, commitment, and community. So it starts with the parents, but it has certainly filtered down to the two young men that they call their sons. And we'll come back to that theme at the end, because that's part of the message for this evening's show, is that this is a family of I don't want to say public servants, but people who continue to give back and have done so their entire careers. So now we get to the portion of the show called The Queen's Court, which is where I ask some questions that get us to know a little bit more, and maybe in a humorous way, some of the insights of my guest. So I couldn't start anywhere else but in the classrooms. And you were on the second floor, right, at Holy Trinity?
No, I was in room 411.
Oh, you were up top even higher.
411. Love that room. Love the people in that room. Had some great classes, great experiences in that room for the 4 years that I was there.
4 years.
Didn't have to change classrooms ever.
No air conditioning.
No, it was pretty brutal. Yeah.
So we're going to start with the Queen's Court questioning. And I wanted to ask Vin, what are some of the most memorable events or lessons that you took away from your first 2 years in education at the high school?
Well, let's even do this, since we're in the Queen's Court, right?
Yeah,
and this is
Court.
crowning around. Let's do a little clowning around.
Yeah, let's do it.
One of the best experiences I've ever had is when I dressed at WrestleMania 1.
WrestleMania.
As the Macho Man in running tights. Don't look at this.
Don't
and
judge.
Say, yeah, don't judge now. Go back 40-something years. And to my right here, the
lovely Miss Elizabeth.
The lovely Miss Elizabeth.
Yes.
And we had a lot of fun. And let's not say that Jean Fennell, who eventually became principal, wore a kilt and was Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Right. It was the height of that.
Right. So we had a lot of fun doing that. But in terms of the classroom, my very first day, very first period teaching, I had this wonderful, so again, I'm teaching religion, and I was doing an introduction to the synoptic gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Who are these guys? Who are these characters? What gives? And pretty well thought out, knowing that I had 40 minutes to work with kids. I'd never done this before. In walks this tall woman who was the assistant principal for academics. I never taught, never did anything. And she sits down in the back of the room for 40 minutes. I don't know where the chalk is. I don't have any of these things under control. The class goes very, very well. Kids are interactive. I'm like, this is good. I feel this. They feel it. While I didn't have the science, I had the art. So I was able to follow, lead, do things with the kids, which was great. Class is over. She's my height. Wasn't she's passed on, may she rest in peace. Looked me straight in the eye and said, Vincent, this was a very fine class, but your shades weren't even. And so I know we're on the radio and you can't have like dead air, but that was kind of my response. I said, "Sister, what do you mean?" "Well, the shades on the windows weren't even."
It's a problem.
And my response pretty much was, "Sister, I didn't even know that there were shades there." And she said, "Well, some of the students had glare. They weren't able to see this thing and that thing."
This is how it goes.
And I said, "What is this woman giving me grief for?" I'm like, "Come on, this is the first class ever."
Right.
And as I reflected on it, I had the art, but not necessarily the science, nor necessarily the detail.
Right.
Right. So it was that kind of thing that's saying, "That's great. You know what you're talking about, but maybe look at this and maybe look at that." And over the course of those years,
Yeah.
and they go on. But
of course, you're nervous, right? You're trying to impress this person. She is the assistant principal.
I didn't know she was coming, and there she is.
And they had those nun shoes where you couldn't hear them in the hallway. And
she had keys. The keys always
and she
always
was
jingle.
A giant woman, and she was intimidating. And look, we just got these jobs, and we want to stay for a while. And it's just so funny because they would write up your observation, which is very different now, and could you imagine that the first commentary is about your blinds, because that was driving her crazy sitting in the back of the room, not really taking in the whole lesson that was really magically working for someone who had never taught before. But we digress. But we have to stay with Sister Elizabeth for a moment.
23-year-old single guy.
Right.
Don't even know what drapes are. No concern with the curtains.
Blinds were a problem.
What is this?
Now, this same woman would come into my classroom, and first of all, they dress coded me every week. So at the time, you couldn't wear pants that showed your ankles. So that was the style, it was the 80s. And so she would constantly say, "Now, Joan, those pants, they're inappropriate." And of course, all the girls were like, "We love the way you dress." So it was a little bit of a problem every morning what I was going to look like. But she came into my classroom one day and said, "You're very, very knowledgeable in history, but you're so driven to get out all this historical information." And back in the day, the kids took notes, and you wrote all over the chalkboards, and they took copious notes to make sure that the next day when they were having a quiz every freaking day, they were going to get all the details down. And that's how we operated, because I was very drawn to making sure they did well on their state tests, which are the Regents exams in New York. So she said to me, "Can't you be a little bit more playful? You're so young. You're 23 years old. Why don't you be more playful?" So I thought this was the greatest idea in the world.
Spectacular. Pay attention out there.
Just please pay attention to this. I thought I would try it out on the faculty my next lesson. I was teaching a unit on Egypt, and I thought, wouldn't it be great if each kid tried to write their name in symbols, right? Because hieroglyphs are, in fact, not letters. They're symbols.
This is before the Mummy came out. This is serious.
Way before the Mummy. And I thought, okay, each kid will be given, a card and have to try to create their name. So I said, let me try this on the faculty at a faculty meeting. And we sat next to a lady named Sheila Corteliu.
I remember Sheila.
Remember Sheila. So she was trying to mimic with her drawing a pair of lips and a finger like this for the delineation of shh. But when she stood up to show us the shush symbol, it was a very big pair of lips and a finger that didn't necessarily look like a finger. And
these are the things we learn in education.
So I thought, oh my, I don't think that could happen in the classroom until the person that was trying to draw his image was a young man by the name of Sean Lee Cock,
who ran for me and who's passed away.
Yes,
brutally, but
yes.
A great story.
Great story, because he was so proud to show his hieroglyph, and when it came to his last name, we had to edit. It wasn't my greatest lesson of all.
Well, I think the Lee jeans portion worked out.
The Lee jeans, right? He had the Lee patch.
Yeah,
and
that was good.
Yeah, the cock part was maybe not appropriate.
Maybe not so good. Maybe not so good.
So we learned. Listen, here's the lessons we took away. I only stayed at Holy Trinity for 3 years, but I continued to coach cheerleading. I would go back from my public school job and coach the ladies because they were tremendous cheerleaders, and we were destined to do great things for Catholic schools and cheer. We worked with the great Jerry Iannarelli, who was our athletic
Jerry was the
director, who also passed, and he was a college teammate of mine. And we just had such, like it was a growing up party. We just leaned on each other. And I remember the older staff saying, "Did anybody watch 30 something last night?" And I was like, "Oh my God, 30.
What is that?
Oh God, these eight." And everyone in the faculty room was smoking cigarettes.
It's pretty brutal.
Right.
Pretty brutal.
When you think back, like it was just such a social thing, smoking cigarettes. And when we had parties, which were in the library, the nuns were the first ones to bring the wine because they lived on either side of the high school, right? The Dominican sisters and the Sisters of Mercy. They lived there. So they just went into their residence and brought out wine.
If you think they were suffering, they were doing okay. And thank goodness they brought stuff. They took care of us.
They did take care of us, but not the friendliest group. So when you're a young teacher and you're trying to look to your mentors, and they were the Sisters of Mercy, still wearing habits.
Yeah.
It was tough. It was a tough sell. So what did I learn? I took away from that structure and discipline and the value of being on time. And if you remember, we had a modular system and everything was 20 minutes, including lunch. So those kids shoveled the food down and then went to the next period. And it was a great experience for me. Interestingly enough, one of our other colleagues that taught there, Mr. Dave Flatley, would go on to become my superintendent at Carl Place High School. And we went to his wedding. Also got thrown out a great adventure because of his future bride splashing too many people on the log flume.
I think Nancy did the wrong thing.
I think Nancy did the wrong thing that day. Sorry, Nancy. We had to bring that up. But he went on to have a great career in education and finished up at Carl Place High School as superintendent. So we did some things right there.
Yeah, and I think to go back, 40-something years ago and try to, we didn't even, speak about track, which was, for me, essential to my lived experience in the building, like the time. What was the motto? Time, place, and spirit at Holy Trinity. But I think we were really fortunate that there were some really terrific mentors. A lot of people took me under their wing and said, try this, try this. I think of Ron Swirsky, who's just passed away. Ron taught bio or chem or I don't know, but somewhere in the sciences. And he was a pharmacist. He would do, but he would bring me in there and say, Vin, you want to try this, think about this. The kids like you like what you're doing. Try this angle, see how that works. And he was great. And there were other people.
Yeah, and we needed it. And that's all that education is all about, that you stand on the shoulders of the people who came before you, and they're the ones that showed you the road. I don't want to move on to the next question before I show some of the photos that I would like to share with the audience. Bobby, if you could put up the first picture of Vin at the Western Wall in Jerusalem, which is where I have said before he has sent me messages to see if I could, send him some prayers. Bobby, do you think you could put that picture up on the Western Wall? It's Vin at the wall in Jerusalem. There it is. How's that moment feel to you?
First, I'm wearing a yarmulke that's from, I think, the bar mitzvah of a good family friend. Bob and Sharon Workella. Bob and I ran together at MEPM. His mom, Mom W, is one of the all-time great ladies who helped take care of me. And, as I was growing up, but that yarmulke is from John Nathan's bar mitzvah. So I wore that. In fact, he let me know, you got John Nathan's bar, hat.
Oh, he knew.
Yeah. Being at the Western Wall, if the Holy Land is important to you, whether you're Jewish or Catholic or another branch of Christianity, getting to the Holy City is a pretty big deal.
It is a big deal.
And I had this opportunity through work over the last 7 years. I've been to Israel 3 times. This was the first time. It was chilly. You can tell just by how I'm dressed.
Yeah.
And through Facebook and through, just having basic conversations, I don't think it's wrong to say that I put hundreds of prayers into that wall from former students, from
wonderful.
Neighbors, from friends who was battling cancer, who had lost a child. Just things that, going through my life on a pretty regularly daily basis, I don't tend to think about. that often with that kind of intensity, you get these things. And it changes kind of your dynamic.
Right.
For the sheer fact that somehow somebody trusts you
Right.
to do this for them.
Right. That's a beautiful sentiment.
That is the, if you take anything away from like, who's this guy? We're in crowning around. I'm thinking we're clowning around. But if you take anything away, it's when somebody puts their trust in you,
Right.
and you deliver for them, irrespective of how things turn out. People will die. People may not get better. There may be a miracle. Maybe the miracle is in fact allowing somebody to die gracefully. But the fact that you did this for them and they responded, people I don't even know had written to me and said, my friend of a friend who said, you're going there. Could you do this
Please
for me?
remember this person. Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sure.
And as I got a little bit more advanced in technology with my phone here, I actually did videos and sent them to people, saying, here's what I did for you when I was here.
That's wonderful.
And that's pretty spectacular.
It is, and important. Bobby, if you could put up the shot of Vin and the fabulous Sandy Torti and his boys so that people can see her in all of her fabulousness. And there's the fam.
Yeah. So
where are you?
We are at Cooper's Rock, which is just outside of Morgantown, West Virginia. So,
okay.
So this photo is many years ago. I got the bunny fingers, I guess, over my boys. Dan was a student at West Virginia, so we were there. Could have been Thanksgiving, could have been the middle of the winter.
Lovely.
I would say this, if you've not been to West Virginia, it is among the most beautiful parts of the world.
Country roads.
It is great.
Right?
Great.
Country roads. Yes. There's a reason that song.
Yeah, and if you go to the Marriott, the Watertown Marriott, go there and have the John Denver smoked
bourbon.
It's just like, okay, they made it especially country road.
That's the song of our lifespan.
It's just great stuff. Yeah, so that photo, I think, is our Christmas photo.
Lovely.
And I think we send it out when we remember to send out cards every year.
Yeah, well, right. The last photo, if you don't mind, Bobby, is an article about the track team. So who are these four gentlemen? Is this the relay team?
Yeah. So this photo was taken in the spring of '88.
Okay.
And I'm in the middle. There's Ben Cannon, Clarence Cannon, Derek
Brothers.
Ravenel, and Derek Hines. Derek Ravenel and Clarence Cannon have both passed away over the last number of years. Clarence went on to have a great football career.
He did.
At Boston College. I think he caught a pass that kept BC in the game against Notre Dame, and then BC kicked a field goal, like no time to win that game.
Yes.
So these guys.
What a lovely gentleman he was too.
Absolutely. And these four guys here, this is right before the Penn Relays. We didn't run that well at the Penn Relays. There was a lot of pressure on us, and I didn't get the team as prepared as I would have liked to. But what these guys were able to do, winning the Catholic High School athletic indoor championships, a race I did not see. I was so nervous. I left Dratty Gym in Manhattan College. I never saw the race.
Really?
Yep. And they won by a second, beat a magnificent Nazareth team.
Nazareth in Brooklyn, where I took driver's ed.
Nazareth in Brooklyn. So that happened. And then a week later, they went on to win the New York State championship in the 4x400. And the next day, we drove from, I think we were in Ithaca up at Cornell, and drove then to Yale.
Okay.
Where they ran the 4x400, finished second in the nation, set, I think, what was the New York State record at that time for indoors. And, and it was one of the most surreal experiences. And if you've never won like that, and I never had, I'd run well, but never won like that, it was the most, I would say, lonely experience.
Really?
Right? Because people weren't like, oh, here's our. We're like, okay, how do you deal with this?
It's that big.
Right? No one expected.
It's that big, too.
And you're like,
how do you process that is what you're really saying, right?
And that's this relay, but there were so many other runners, not part of this, but, were just, that made the Holy Trinity experience just magnificent.
Rewarding.
Just really
right.
magnificent.
It's why we're here, why we're still talking about it, 40-something years later. So eventually, Vin will pivot into a career where he's going to become a professional fundraiser. So the next question I'm going to ask is, what tools from the classroom did you bring into your next career for professional fundraising?
Well, when I left Trinity, I'd done so many things or learned so many things. I was part of my seminary experience was being a chaplain in a hospital. And that whole experience, St. Mary's Catholic Medical Center in Bed-Stuy, like, what am I doing in Bed-Stuy?
Right.
The first time in my life, I was a minority person.
Yeah.
So that was a whole experience in and of itself, a magnificent experience. But my areas of responsibility were the OBGYN and the ER.
Oh, boy.
Right. So birth and death, life and death every day. Like, oh, my God, I'm 28, 27. Like, who even deals with this kind of stuff? I had to do with a gentleman whose wife had died 4 times already. The doctor wouldn't do it. I had to do with him a DNR, do not resuscitate. And this fellow let his wife finally go. And I said, this guy is great. Whatever he's doing, I want to be able to do this. That's when a part of me said, priesthood is such an amazing gift.
Right.
Not Vin's gift.
Okay.
Vin's going to find an equally amazing gift, for my set of skills. And you probably don't know this, but Sister Mariana Uring, who was in charge of the hospital for us, my buddy and I said, look, sis, check this out. We're not leaving this hospital until we see a live birth.
Oh.
We want to be in the delivery
room.
And she said, you guys are idiots. I know you guys. There's no way we're going in there.
We're not allowing that.
Sister, please, look, come on, let me go in there. So she finally acquiesced. We're in there. So just like this, glasses, got the hat on, scrubs, all these things. I'm behind the doctor who's working with the woman who's about to give birth. So I'm the umpire calling balls. I feel like Leslie Nielsen. I'm calling balls and strikes. Just incredible. This woman is like wreathing in pain and everything.
Oy.
The needle is about this big. I don't know what's going on. I've never seen this before. And then out comes this baby. And then the head turns and does this thing and that thing. I pass out.
Down for the count.
Down goes Frazier. I just go, bam. I knock down, my glasses break.
Oh, my
The doctor's like, who is this moron? Why did we let these seminarians
She
in
was
here?
right.
This is crazy. That experience, the fellow who allowed his wife to die, and watching this, I said, I want to be a dad. I want to get married.
Okay.
Right.
So this was another light bulb moment for you.
More important than any 2 experiences in my life. So if you go further out, and then when Daniel is about to be born, we're at LIJ at 3:42 in the morning on November 3rd. Not that I remember this.
You do.
Sandy's about to give birth to this baby, and she says, "Go down. Tell me what." I'm like, there is no way I'm going down there. I'm not going to pass out again.
No.
And so I didn't know what he was or what she was until, like, it's a boy. I'm like, Mazel tov. This is great. Mazel tov. Thank you.
So here we are now fundraising, and here we are shifting gears again. And so I guess the question I asked, or really should ask, is how did you balance? Fundraising requires a lot of extra hours, a lot of travel, right, away from family. It's not like teaching. So you took the skill sets that you had acquired from being an educator, kind of transformed them into negotiating with people, right, so that you could raise funds for hospitals, et cetera. But you had to be away. You were always on a plane somewhere.
Always. But even before those things happened, I was able to use the skills I had learned teaching.
Yeah.
Because I did it teaching.
Right.
And so while I did, full-time classroom teaching for 6 years, when I left Holy Trinity, I was at Severian in Brooklyn for 10 years.
Another great school.
And so I went from classroom teaching, I became the school's admissions director, because I think the one who was before me was either leaving or was doing something else. A guy, a guy named John Mullen.
John Mullen.
Right, the whole Mullen clan.
Of the Chris Mullen families.
Right.
Yeah.
And John and I also, we had a homeroom together. That was the most fun 2 human beings could ever have. Vin Torti and John Mullen. That's crazy. That's just crazy. So I learned how to raise money at Severian, annual fund stuff, major gift stuff, events. I hate events. Always hated events. I don't care where the fork and knife are.
Yeah.
I'm much more interested in saying, hey, Joan, we have this tremendous project.
Right.
We want you to be a part of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So over the course of years, when I left Severian, I worked at...
You were a Good Samaritan for a while,
yeah,
right?
I can say where I worked, right?
Yeah,
I worked
of course.
at Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory for cancer research.
Crick and Watson.
Crick and Watson. I worked for Watson.
For those of you who don't know who that is, that's the DNA, the people who developed the double helix or the concept of
for you
DNA.
biology people out there who should know Watson and Crick.
Smart cookie.
Yeah. And if you know, Watson just passed away, maybe not too long ago.
Yes.
But Watson was 23, I think, when he discovered that with Crick. So what do you do for an encore? I'm not really sure.
Right.
So I had that opportunity to do that. Hospitals at Good Sam and at Winthrop, and now NYU Langone. I worked at Duke Medicine for a period of time.
Lovely.
But over the last couple of years, I even went back to Severian to raise money, and that was going great. Then I wound up having neck surgery. And for those of you who live on the island and have to go into Brooklyn by car, no human being should have to do this. And
the Belt Parkway, no one should experience
everyone's
that.
friend is the Belt Parkway. So that travel just became, you know what?
A grind.
At this stage in my life, this is not what I
Right.
want to do. And I applied for this opportunity for an organization called the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, based in Chicago, but is the largest not-for-profit in Israel.
Right.
And so they hired me with my background. What I didn't know was that it's largely Orthodox Jewish and supported largely by evangelical Christians. And here you have this moderate Catholic.
Right.
And so how do you navigate these kind of things?
Right, right.
So even when I was hired, they didn't worry about my Jewish relationships because I grew up in Brooklyn. I live on the island. This is what we do every day. No big deal.
Right.
But they were worried about, how would you be able to work with, evangelicals? And I said, well, when I was at Duke, in a pretty Southern universe,
Baptist.
I had people make gifts in my honor, for the hospice program that I helped raise money for. I said, I think I'm going to be okay.
Yeah, and you were.
So I went there just to raise money, cover the territories here. And then, someone said, look, if the opportunities come up to do more operations because you've done that, would you be interested? And I said, sure. And eventually they came, and I became a director of this. And when I retired at the end of 2025, as the vice president of philanthropy, the team that I had overseen, the major gift team, who raises big monies from individuals, and the plan giving team that works on all those things no one ever talks about, wills, estates. You've had people on here do financial planning and stuff.
Yes, I have. Mm-hmm.
So remainder trust and lead trust and donor advised funds and all those things, I oversaw that. And in the last 3 years, the group that I oversaw, we raised pretty close to $85 million.
That's a number.
But kind of balancing travel and family. It's good that my boys are older,
right?
And
independent,
right? So we didn't worry so much about that. But I think I was in the Hilton somewhere, maybe 75, 80 nights last year.
Yeah, you were always posting,
and and it's great. But when you're doing it 1 week at a time, you're like, yeah, it's a little. It wears off. I've been, the offices were in Chicago.
Yeah,
I can't tell you anything about Chicago.
No,
because all you do is get on a plane, you go to work, you go out to dinner, and you do it again, and then you go home.
Well, we're moving along at such a pace, and this is such important information for you to understand and listen to and kind of reflect on, that I have not taken a commercial break, and I will not, because I want to end up where we need to be at this last question and then get to the tiara tip of the week. So with time, as we see fit,
this is moving. This is crazy.
This is just how fast it goes. My last question in the Queen's Court is service, commitment, community, giving back. You, your sons, your wife, all a part of this beautiful concept of doing for others in a small amount of time. Where does that come from?
Well, I would love to be able to pinpoint this and say, this is it.
Right.
I think for me, I'm a man of faith.
Always have been.
Right? So my priestly studies, my seminary training, you kind of always saw that you were called to do something great. And what I mean by great is like, look at me here, great. Great. You're helping somebody do something. And if you did that, okay, what can I do the next day? to help somebody else. And Sandy taught for all these years. She taught
Mm-hmm.
40 something years. You want to know about education? You talk to Joan, talk to my wife, Sandy. They'll tell you about education. Trips, people not having money. And, how many times do teachers go into their pockets?
Always.
To make a classroom look like a classroom,
course, right.
or help a kid who didn't have school, didn't have lunch money and stuff. So,
right.
With our guys, we may not have overtly said, you will do service. They hear it from us.
But you were the example.
They hear it,
right?
And they also hear like, what? This stinks. I hate this. I'm tired of this. This is crazy.
Right.
But the next day you're doing the same thing, and you keep showing up and keep showing up and keep showing up and keep doing it.
Right.
And I think that's where even now it just.
So resilience, dedication,
sure.
loyalty,
yeah.
And you served as their role models.
You don't pack it in.
Yeah, and you get it. Okay, so last point that we're going to make is something called the Tiara Tip of the Week, which is not so much for you to say, this is my greatest crowning achievement, another pun on words, but really, what do you think is your greatest success? And what can you share with our listeners is the reason why it's your greatest success?
Well, I think besides my family.
Besides your family.
Right. So if we're talking about professional.
If you choose.
Yeah, I think professionally, I secured a gift at Duke for the hospice program from people that no longer wanted to give. And I had to go, I would never say the word sell, because if you do philanthropy and you sell people on stuff,
doesn't work.
That's not it. That's definitely not it. So I got them, spoke.
Mm-hmm.
Not only did they change their mind, the woman with whom I worked, her mom was passing away, and they went from no longer supporting this to putting the hospice program in their estate, which wound up being a sizable, 6-figure gift.
Wow.
And the woman wound up donating her body to Duke Med.
Wow.
For students to learn how to fight the cancer that she was going through.
Battling. Mm-hmm.
So we go from no gift to
the ultimate gift
to donating a body.
The ultimate gift.
That's like, what?
That's a big deal.
Somebody helped do that. I think that's pretty, not the largest gift I ever raised, but that's not important.
Right. You hit the nail on the head. We got why it was a major success and important. So once again, I'd like to thank my guest, Mr. Vin Torti, whom we didn't need a commercial break for because we had so much catching up to do. But more importantly, I wanted to share his message of service. Really, that's what it boils down to. And that hasn't changed over the 40 years that I've known him. It's taken on different variations, but it continues with his family and his sons. And I'm proud to know him and call him a dear friend. We have a lot of former students watching this evening.
Do we really?
So, yes, we do.
How do you know that?
Because on Facebook, everything was posted and the shout outs were coming left and right. So thank you for tuning in. I'm not finished with the show because I want to introduce my next guest in 2 weeks on May the 26th. We're going to be welcoming my next guest, who is a true visionary and a portrait and a picture of just loveliness because she is a professional photographer and her name is Jackie Mahaley. Jackie is the reason why I have that beautiful opening shot of me doing the crowning around pose, which is not only my brand for the show, but is also my business card. And she worked with me to get that image perfect and intact. And she is just a delightful visionary and someone who is now expanding from her personal photography business to opening something called the House of Brand with her partner, Miss Sarah Stone. And we are going to be talking to her about this exciting entrepreneurial venture that she and Sarah are taking on. And really the message that she is bringing forth with House of Brand is that she wants to help other budding entrepreneurs get their established business imagery out there so that it's inviting and alluring, which we all know is part of marketing. And, when you have the right people behind you when it comes to creating imagery and not selling you on what do people want to have you look like, she gets to the authentic part of who you are. She calls you. We talk on the phone. We go to her home in Stony Brook. We travel to forests and locations where we can get some really great shots, but like the image is not lost on, how do you see yourself and what are you trying to promote? And I think this House of Brand launch, which she's going to talk about at the end of May, is going to be just something spectacular for people who are trying to brand themselves and their businesses. So we get to the end of this month, and of course we're going to be welcoming ideas about how do we get into the summer mode and what are we going to do to prepare for all the time that we have off, which is school teacher thinking. But in reality, we have to remember that next weekend is Memorial Day, right?
Yeah.
And we have to always remember and thank those who served and maybe didn't get to come home, but did, their due course to help us to live the beautiful lives that we have here in the United States and the freedoms that we cherish. So I wanted to close by saying, I hope I created the perfect snapshot for you to tune in to in 2 weeks. I thank my guest, Mr. Vin Torti. We're going to have a nice dinner to catch up even further on our families. And, the fact that we're on the back nine and now we have to go a little bit slower.
I think the back nine is generous. I appreciate that.
Back nine is pretty good.
He's 120.
No, and I just loved having him here. And we thank everyone for tuning in as always. And we'll see you on May the 26th with my guest, Jackie Mahaley. Thank you so much and have a great weekend.